Hi, my name is Shaza Iklima binti Sofyan and my matrix number is 06D8024F1011. Today, I'm going to talk about audit documentation. According to ISA 230 defined as the record of audit procedure performed, relevant audit evidence obtained and conclusion the auditor reached. Second, there are two types of file in audit documentation. First, permanent file, a section of the audit documentation that holds data and information which does not change frequently and is relevant for audit of multiple years. Current file is a section of audit working paper that contain information, evidence, and documentation specific to the period being audited. Next, content in the current file. First, we have audit program. Next, we have working trial balance, and the third one is schedule and analyze. Fourth, we have purpose adjusting and reclassifying entries, and the last one is audit memoranda and corroborating information.
To present about importance of audit working paper, the first one is necessary for audit quality control purpose. The second one is provide assurance that the work declared by the audit partner has been properly complete. The third one is provide evidence that an effective audit has been carried out. The next one is increase the economic efficiency and effectiveness of the audit. The last one is retain a record of matter of continuing significance to future audit. Next slide is I will present about three content of current audit file. So the first content is audit program. It's a set of direction that the auditor need to follow for proper execution of the audit. The second one is working trial balance. It's a statement that lists all the balance of ledger account at a particular date, usually at the end of accounting period, and provide column for adjustment so it work toward the final financial statement. And the last one is schedule and analysis. A schedule is detailed list of transaction, balance, or account information that support the amount in the financial statement. Analysis is the process of examining, interpreting, and comparing financial data to detect error, irregularities, or unusual trend. The next slide is audit working paper review process. The first one is preparation by junior auditor. Junior auditor prepare working paper with supporting evidence and schedule and analysis. The second one is review by senior audit. Check for accuracy, completeness, and compliance with audit standard. The third one is review by audit manager. Ensure audit plan and objective are fully addressed. And the last one is sign off and filling. After a review, the working paper are signed off by the reviewer.
My name is Nur Shafika binti Resmi. My number matric is 06DAPF1036. So now I'm going to explain about changes to audit file. There are four types of changes to audit file, which is the first one is addition, adding new schedules, analyze or confirmations. The second one is correction, fixing errors in amounts, dates or reference. And the third one is removing irrelevant or duplicate documents, which is deletion with proper documentation. And the last one is modification or amendment, which is updating notes, explanation or cross-references. Next is principle for making changes. There are four principles. The first one is proper documentation. Every change must be clearly dated, initial and explained. The second one is no erasure. Original content should not be erased. Corrections are made with a single line strike through or in a separate column. The third one is authorization. Changes should be reviewed and approved by the senior auditor or manager. And the last one is audit trail. The file should clearly show what was changed, why, and by whom. I'm going to explain about ownership of audit working paper. Audit working papers are the property of the auditor, audit firm, not the client. Even though the working papers contain client information, they are created and maintained by the auditor as evidence of the audit work performed. Firstly, I'm going to explain about audit sampling. Audit sampling is the process of selecting a portion of transactions or items from a larger population to examine. Rather than checking every item, the auditor used the result from the sample to make conclusions about the entire population.
Next, I will explain the sampling approach used in auditing. There are two main types, which are statistical sampling and non-statistical sampling. First, statistical sampling used a random selection and probability theory. This means every item in the population has a no and equal chance of being selected because it is based on mathematical method. The results are more objective and reliable. Second point, non-statistical sampling. Non-statistical sampling is based on auditor's professional judgment. The auditors select a sample based on the specific characteristic, such as high-level transaction or risky item. This method is more easier, but it is maybe less objective because it depends on human judgment. Next, I will explain the types of statistical sampling. Statistical sampling is important because it helps auditors to select data fairly and make reliable conclusions about the whole population. First is random sampling. In this method, every item the population has an equal chance of being selected. For example, the auditor may use a random number, a generate to choose an invoice. Second is systematic sampling. In this method, the auditor select item using a fixed interval such as 10 transactions. It is simple and easy to apply, especially dealing with large data. The last type is monetary unit sampling. This method focuses on the value of transaction. Higher value items have a higher chance of being selected. It is useful when an auditor wants to detect material mistakes.
My name is Yashi Ashwani Devi and my matrix number is 0608024F1083. As the last presenter, I'll bring together two critical ideas, which is sampling risk and non-sampling risk, because no matter how good our audit procedures are, if we only test a sample, we always face some uncertainty. Sampling risk is simply the risk that our sample doesn't represent the population. That can lead to wrong conclusion, either missing a material error or flagging something that actually isn't a problem. Non-sampling risk is different. It is the auditor's error, misinterpreting evidence, using wrong procedures, or just carelessness. That is controlled through training, supervision, and proper planning. Both risk matters, but only non-sampling risk can be reduced to zero with enough discipline. Moving on to the audit testing, there are two main types. First of all, test of control, also known as compliance testing. Here we ask, are the client's internal control actually working? We do this through observation, inquiries, inspection, and reperformance. It's a yes or no check. Does the control exist and operate efficiently? Second, the substantive test. This is a detailed testing where the internal controls are weak, or even when they are strong but we still need direct evidence. Substantive test evaluates the reasonableness of an item in the financial statement, verifying assertions like existence, accuracy, and valuation. Common procedures such as recalculation, confirmation, and analytic procedures. Think of it this way. Test of control tells you if you can rely on the system. Substantive test tells you if the numbers themselves are right. Now, how do we sample for each? For test of control, we use attribute sampling. It's a binary yes or no, absent or present question. For example, did the manager approve of the purchase order? We are checking the rate of deviation, not dollar impact. For substantive test, we use probability proportion to size or PPS sampling. Here, larger items have a large chance to be selected. Why? Because a small number of large transaction usually contains the most non-monetary misstatement risk. PPS is efficiently and directly focuses on overstated errors. Finally, let's look at some real findings. Starting out with test of control. We have tested a three-way match control. PO, goods received notes, and invoice before payment. Findings, not fully efficient. In the 30 transactions, we have found 2 overrides, that is 6.7%, where the payments were made without a proper match. Cause, system overrides were unmonitored. So our recommendation would be, weekly manager should review the override logs. It is simple but powerful. Now on to the substantive test on trade payable. We have tested the existence, accuracy and valuation. We have found a 12,000 overstatement from a duplicate invoice. Projected error was 45,000, which was below materiality. So our conclusion, payables are fairly stated overall, but the duplicate entry tells us control improvement is still needed. So here's the takeaway. Sampling helps us draw conclusion efficiently, but control and auditor judgment makes those conclusions reliable. That is all from us. Thank you.